Now, here's your host, Kevin Conover.
Bring your tithe and bring your shame.
Welcome to Educate for Life. I'm your host, Kevin Conover. My website is join.educateforlife.org. And it's 40 online classes defending the truth of the Bible. If you're interested in that sort of thing, if you want to really be able to answer the hard questions about God and the Bible, you can check out my website. Again, that's join.educateforlife.org. And on September 26th, coming up right here, right around the corner, I'm teaming up with Apna Hope. We're going to host a debate between Dan Barker. He's the president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. He's an atheist, pretty well-known atheist. And Dr. Andy McIntosh, who's flying all the way from England to debate, does atheism make sense of reality? So it should be very interesting. It's at San Diego State University here in San Diego. That's a Tuesday evening, and I'm actually moderating the debate. So I will be telling people when they have to stop talking, and I promise to be fair. So it's going to be a great debate. I hope you can make it out. Should be a lot of fun. My guest today is Denise Shick, and she is with Help for Families Ministries. This is actually a ministry that she is the founder of. She's the executive director. Helpforfamilies.com, the number 4, helpforfamilies.com is her website. She's the author of My Daddy's Secret, When Hope Seems Lost, Understanding Gender Confusion, which is a faith-based perspective, as well as other publications. She's the founder of the ministry, and her goal is to compassionately reach out to family members and bring understanding of the emotional and spiritual issues that families face when a loved one is gender confused. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about gender issues. This is all over the news, and you see it in athletics a lot. We're seeing the NCAA is relaxing standards that deal with when somebody who has been transgendered can join the athletic team that is the opposite, a women's team, like a man who transgenders to a woman joins a women's team, and these sorts of things. It's all over the news, and there's a lot of controversy over that, but we're going to be talking about these issues today. She has led a church-based support group for people with sexual addictions. She served as administrator of family-related issues with Transgender Fellowship. She served as a program aide for an alcohol and substance abuse clinic, and also served 7 years with a Christian pregnancy center as an administrative assistant, counselor, and implementing an abstinence program as the program director. She's also an ordained minister, holds an AS degree in psychology and a BS in community and human services. Denise, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin.
Yeah, it's a real privilege. And you have insight into this issue because of the life you've led, and you've come out on the other side of that and now are reaching out to others to encourage them and help them through these difficult issues.
That's right. That's correct.
So for our listeners, why don't we go all the way back to the beginning and just share why you have such a heart for this issue, and what you went through as a child.
Sure. Growing up in the environment that I had, my father just wasn't a real loving, dotty dad. I didn't think much of it, just thought that that was the way that he grew up and that's the way he was. But at 9 years old, my father had taken me outside to sit with him. And even that, to say, can you come out and sit with me? First of all, for my dad to ask that, and you're like, what's this all about? And his first words out of his mouth were to me, as he looked directly into my eyes, is, I want to become a woman.
Wow. And you're 9 years old?
I'm 9 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was trying to process that. I mean, first of all, it came out of nowhere. And I wasn't sure what this really meant, and as fast as I'm trying to process this, he starts to reveal other details of his life and secrets of sorts to me. And so as a child, I'm thinking, understanding that I'm just a child and trying to figure out, why is he telling me all of this?
Yeah.
You're a child, he's an adult, and yet he just was revealing all of this stuff that really no child should hear. So by the time that conversation finished, I, in my naiveness, thought, that's Dad, and I'm over here, I'm separate. This isn't going to impact me because we're two different people.
Yeah.
But obviously I found out shortly after that that's not the fact, because I immediately started to grieve the loss of a father. Understanding that Dad didn't want to be my dad, that he wanted to become a woman that I didn't know, and trying to again just say, how do you say goodbye to your father in that instance? As well as I discovered as I started to mature very young, like at 11 years old, where my father became very envious of me. And that was because my body, I started to develop into a woman.
Wow.
Which is what he wanted so desperately.
Now, what was going on with your mom at the time?
My mom worked afternoons. And so I never told her. My dad had told me this, but in my mind, I'm thinking if I tell my dad...
he didn't tell your mom?
He told my mom back when they got married that it was something he struggled with.
Oh, wow.
But she had no idea, of everything, of his activities.
Now, was there a religious background there at the time?
There was. I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
And so having that understanding, the foundation of God, the fear of God, the love of God, and that's really what I had clung to.
Yeah.
I had to cling to something, to somebody.
Yeah.
And that was all that I had, thinking if I tell mom, this is going to make her sick or this is going to hurt her awfully if she knows what my dad had just told me. And because some of the things that he had shared also detailed their relationship.
Oh, wow.
And some of the things in there.
Now, did he share this with you because he needed somebody to be able to air this out, kind of? Or what was going on there?
I really don't know.
Oh, okay.
That would be, one inclination of why that had occurred. I'm not really sure, Kevin,
okay,
why he thought to
Now, did you have brothers and sisters that were also involved? Or
Yeah, I have. I'm the oldest of 5.
Okay.
And so one of the other issues that I struggled with was trying to protect them because obviously, I didn't want my brothers to think, being male, that if their dad is struggling with this, that this is something, maybe I'm really not a boy. And so even understanding at that young age, the confusion that this could be. And
you were already thinking that through. That's amazing.
I was already, thinking that through. So my job of the oldest was to protect them, protect mom and protect my younger siblings.
Oh, it's a lot of responsibility for a 9-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as that moves forward, what happens next and how does this affect long term? And, I guess for our listeners, especially somebody who knows somebody who's struggling with these sorts of issues, it's become so prevalent in our culture.
Yes.
As you navigate forward and they're listening, I guess also, of course, the question is going to come up is, hey, what do I do if I'm in that kind of a situation? And what did you go through that you've learned from and looked into, and now you go, okay, hey, if somebody's in this situation, these are the things that need to be done differently.
Yeah, there's so many things that need to be done on who's the family member and how's this impacting, because it's not just the parents, it's the spouses that are this, and with children, there's so many different layers that this can affect them, impact their lives.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, thinking that my dad believes this. By the time I was 13, I thought, how do you know you're really not a girl, Denise? And so then I started with the gender confusion in the way of acting out in my bedroom.
So you were wondering if you were a girl?
Yes, because I thought if God really made a mistake with Dad, how do you know he didn't make a mistake with you?
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So we're going to be coming up on a break here pretty soon, but there's so many different ways, different things to talk about here. And what time frame was this when this was happening with your dad? Because today, this is people openly talk about these issues, but probably when you were growing up, this was not something that people discussed that often. You didn't even have the resources necessary to get help and support and encouragement, right?
Right. Yes. This would have been the mid-70s.
Okay. And so he's making these decisions. And now, was he moving into were there surgical changes that he was, or was this just more, he wasn't actually having surgery, he was just saying, was he starting to dress like a woman and this sort of thing?
This is where it gets really complicated. My father had remained in the house, nobody knowing, again, what he had disclosed to me.
Yeah.
And it was through many more layers of things that happened in the home with him and I, and how this had played out, that I was 28 by the time he had left my mother of 35 years of marriage to become and pursue Becky.
To be a woman.
To be a woman.
Okay. So my guest today is Denise Shick. Her website is help4families.com. That's help4families.com. These issues have become so prevalent as our society has become more and more accepting of people identifying as the opposite sex and the issue of homosexuality. And so if you need help, it pays to talk to somebody who's traveled these roads before, and it's not something you should be afraid of getting help for. So just reach out on her website, and we're going to continue this discussion when we come back.
Hi, this is Jason Hall, president of Team Home Loans, a branch of Synergy One Lending. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Kevin Conover for the profound impact he's had on mine and my wife's spiritual life, as well as being an incredible teacher while our kids were his students. His knowledge and passion have taught us all how important it is to be defenders of our faith. It's our honor and privilege to support Kevin and his show. It is our sincere hope and prayer that you will continue to learn to be defenders of your faith through Kevin's radio show and through his Educate for Life teachings. Thank you, Kevin, from the Hall family and Team Home Loans.
What do leading local restaurants have in common? They depend on Express Fix Coffee for new and used coffee and espresso machines, repairs, and affordable monthly service. Dave Martin and his local team provide water filtration services too. Call San Diego's best espresso repair company, serving your home and business. Learn more online at expressfixcoffee.com. Call Express Fix Coffee at 619-867-3853. 619-867-3853. How can you live in San Diego and miss out on enjoying the water? Fast Lane Kayaking sells popular Hobie Cat kayaks that you pedal, not paddle. That means your hands are left free for fishing and fun. Just throw these on your roof rack. They're light and they're easy to use and maintain. Just rinse them off. Try one free on a demo ride. For 36 years, Ron and Debbie Lane have served San Diego with fun, family-friendly water sports of all kinds. Learn more. FastLaneSailing.com. 619-222-0766.
When you need tires or service, count on Conover Tires, Wheels, and Service in Oceanside for a full range of affordable options and all the brands you trust. See their great customer reviews and special offers online. Hours Tuesday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30, and Saturdays, 7:30 to 5. Call Dan and his team at 760-439-1631. Conover Tires, Wheels, and Service, 2405 Oceanside Boulevard in Oceanside, 760-439-1631.
I will cast my cares on you.
Thanks for listening today. This is Educate for Life. I'm your host, Kevin Conover. My website is join.educateforlife.org. And I also have these shows on YouTube. You can check them out on YouTube. We've got all kinds of shows with interviews of amazing people. And you can also podcast the show through iTunes or some other resource. And my guest today is Denise Shick, and we're having a very interesting discussion about gender identity. Her father wanted to identify as a woman, and my hope through this interview is that if you know people that are struggling with these things, that it will give you some insight in order to be able to reach out in a compassionate and godly way to them, as well as also cause you to pray for these kind of situations. Because we see this in the news a lot. I think just recently a transgender wrestler won the women's competition because he was so much stronger than the women that he was wrestling against. And we see these things again and again. And sometimes our immediate reaction can be one of anger or hostility. And yet Christ is calling us to love people. And we have to look at people like Christ looked at the people that were beating him on the cross, that had killed him and crucified him. And he said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. And I think a lot of people are stuck in ignorance. They don't know what to do. So, Denise, if we could pick up where we left off with your testimony. And so you're 9 years old. Your father has told you he wants to be a woman. He's revealing all these secrets to you that really should not be revealed to a 9-year-old. So what happened next as you move on into your high school years and then on into college? How did this continue to affect your life, and how did you continue to respond?
Well, by the time to go through the different steps of my life, as I had said, by 12, 13, I'm wondering who I am.
Yeah.
Into 7th grade, I needed something to help me to deal with the pain, just so much turmoil and pain inside that I ran to alcohol. And I thought, something to help numb, to deal with this. Looking for some way to mask what was happening. By 8th grade, I became so depressed that I thought about suicide. And it wasn't just thought. I knew what method I would use. To be very honest, it was God and His timing and stopping me from that, because it was listening to a show that many of us might remember older with the Phil Donahue.
Oh, wow.
And so there was that specific show, and then another one where they started to talk about teen suicide. And the thing that feared me, Kevin, from actually trying to commit the act was discovering on these shows that these teenagers tried to do it, but they weren't successful. Instead, they laid in a coma, and another one was paralyzed. And so in my mind, it would have been worse to be paralyzed or in a coma and hearing my dad's voice or knowing all of this where I wouldn't escape it.
Yeah.
So it was the fear of not being successful that had stopped me. Shortly, by the end of 8th grade, I thought, well, drugs. The alcohol wasn't numbing it any longer. And again, with God and His timing, He brought a young man into my life that was a Christian. And this Christian young boy wanted to get to know me, and there was some value in our relationship and things that was moving me away from the consideration of drugs.
Yeah.
And so it was through that where this individual, Mark, had given me my first Bible. He went and bought me a Bible. And, I found out how hungry I was for what was in that Bible. I couldn't read it enough. I would go home after school. I'd take it to study hall on the bus. I didn't realize the hunger that I had. I didn't know personally about Jesus Christ being my Lord and Savior. I didn't know that personal relationship. And yet I also was hungry to know truths. And the truths in the situation that I was facing. So
that's such a powerful statement too, because a lot of times we're afraid to reach out. We're thinking that people are going to reject us, and often people have thirsty souls. They're dying for the hope of Christ because they need help. They're drowning in the mess that is our culture, trying to find satisfaction in sexuality and so forth, rather than in God.
Right. Yeah. And even though I had that faith in God, being raised Catholic, not having that relationship. And so, it was looking to God and really hanging on to Him to still nobody, because this young man who's now my husband, Mark, he didn't realize, what was happening. It was a little over a year of dating him. And he finally said, "Why are you like this with your father? Why do you not talk with him? Why are you so cold?"
Yeah.
And so that processing of revelation on his part, and to watch Mark go from being 5 minutes from our home to everything I disclosed to him, to walk into our door and still talk to my dad like he always talked to him, which drew a curiosity, because I'm the judgmental one here. I'm thinking, why are you doing that? I just told you I was hurt, and the pain and what he's done. And I watched him, and I continued to watch Mark. And so it was that curiosity, but he was just being Jesus with skin on, because he wasn't rejecting my dad and that relationship that they had, where he continued that. So that was the beginning for me of watching how to walk this out, down the road. Well, I married Mark at 18. And probably the most painful thing, is on your wedding day, as I walked up to meet my dad, put my arm inside of his before we walked up the aisle, and he turned and he looked at me and he said, "I wish it were me in that gown."
That's unbelievable.
And I was just screaming inside, and saying to God, help me get up through that aisle. Help me to put a smile on my face, because you've got everybody in that church. And how are you going to fool everybody when inside you're just breaking? So it was 10 years after my wedding when my father had left my mother and pursued becoming a woman.
Now, so as you... it's had such a dramatic impact upon your life and everything, and this is what your ministry does. Looking back now, do you understand why your dad was the way he was? Did you reflect on his upbringing and the things that happened on his life? Do you have resolution there? What?
Yes, because even at 9 years old, he had told me that he was sexually molested. And I knew that my grandmother was an alcoholic. I knew that he perceived my grandfather not really loving him. He didn't connect with my grandfather. So there was a distant relationship. But when he had revealed to me that he'd been molested, and then of course in my mind I'm putting together what I already knew, I'm thinking, and he doesn't realize this. He doesn't see that these are real wounds of the heart.
Yeah. So was this, back in that time when he was going through this, was this knowledge available? Was there information about that sort of thing and the impact that sexual molestation has on people and so forth?
If there was, being that I was so young, I wouldn't have known what research was out there on somebody that was sexually molested.
Yeah. Now, from your understanding, was this issue as prevalent back then as it is today, but it was just hidden? Or would you say that it's becoming more widespread in our culture because there's more abuse, more sexual promiscuity, more of these sorts of things?
I think it's becoming more prevalent. I definitely think that it is, and I think that it has to do with our culture, with the change, obviously, with those that have been sexually molested, or the detachment from the same-sex parent, and so many different components that go into that. But as well, with the acceptance, our peers, when we look at the young peers, the young people today, and they live in a world that, oh, you identify as being transgender? Great. I'm so glad. Be true to yourself. Yeah. They're hearing all these negative messages as far as their identity and who they really are. And so I really blame...
To be true to yourself.
Yes. I blame the culture and the fast train that we're on, that this encourages individuals that have other struggles, but they're looking for a place to belong. They're looking for an identity. Yeah. And so they take this label.
Oh, I really want to kind of come back to that when we come back from our break, but because you were saying that the idea, be true to yourself, you're actually saying that this is a harmful message.
Yes.
And yet our culture is promoting this as, hey, this is the best thing for you. So that's very interesting. So as Christians, this is something we have to wrestle with is, okay, so how do I be like Mark in the way he treated your father, but at the same time not condone the behavior or say I accept this behavior or it's a good thing, but at the same time continue to reach out to people? That's such an important balance that we have to keep. Is that a big part of the focus of your ministry, is helping people with that?
It is. It's helping people to realize, first of all, as loved ones, as family members, we don't stop loving our loved ones because they identify as being transgender, and that's a false message that's out there, is that if your family doesn't accept you, if they don't accept this identity, then they're against you. And that is so far from the truth. Yeah. It's so far from the truth.
Okay, great. So we're going to, we still have 3 more segments. If you're listening, I hope you'll stay with us. My guest today is Denise Shick. She's here in San Diego. She's going to be speaking at a conference, and her website is helpforfamilies.com, helpforfamilies.com. We're going to be right back.
Before I bring my need, I will bring my heart.
Did you know that Denver Broncos quarterback Tim Tebow was homeschooled, along with all 4 of his siblings, by his mom, Pam Tebow? You're invited to hear Pam share how to successfully educate your children with a biblical worldview at San Diego County's only homeschool conference. Hear local experts as they give you the tools you'll need to help you teach your children. Don't miss the Educate for Life Homeschool Conference, Friday and Saturday, June 8th and 9th, presented by the Creation and Earth History Museum in Santee, featuring worship with Michael Sanchez of The Voice, well-known local Bible teacher and radio host Tom Cantor, Pat Roy, creator of the Jonathan Park Creation Adventure audio drama series, and Educate for Life's Kevin Conover. Learn more, become an exhibitor, or register online now at registereducateforlife.com. That's registereducateforlife.com.
Hi, this is Jason Hall, president of Team Home Loans, a branch of Synergy One Lending. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Kevin Conover for the profound impact he's had on mine and my wife's spiritual life, as well as being an incredible teacher while our kids were his students. His knowledge and passion have taught us all how important it is to be defenders of our faith. It's our honor and privilege to support Kevin and his show. It is our sincere hope and prayer that you will continue to learn to be defenders of your faith through Kevin's radio show and through his Educate for Life teachings. Thank you, Kevin, from the Hall family and Team Home Loans.
This is Throughout All Ages Ministry with Joe and Stacy. We would like to equip you to share the gospel with confidence in a biblical and effective way.
We would like to teach you through the proclamation of the gospel.
Whether you're the skeptic, God who created you said that he has made himself known to you so that you are without excuse.
One-on-one evangelism.
How do you think you can get to heaven? never really thought about it, but I've always just thought of, doing good.
For more information, go throughoutallages.com, like us on Facebook, or visit us at YouTube at Throughout All Ages.
Hi, I'm Marissa Conover, and I would love to help you buy or sell your home. I've worked as a realtor for more than 13 years, and as a San Diego native, my passion and experience will help make your move as peaceful as can be. Call me at 619-251-1577. That's 619-251-1577, or visit conoverhomes.com.
I'm giving it all.
Thanks for tuning in to Educate for Life. I'm your host, Kevin Conover. My website's join.educateforlife.org, join.educateforlife.org. You'll notice if you've been listening to my show that I changed the website. It was educateforlife.org, and I actually still have that website, but we've started an online school. It's 40 online classes defending the truth of the Bible, and we go through 4 semesters, so 10 classes per semester for a total of 40 classes. Take it over 10 weeks, 1 video per week, and it's all online. So I hope you'll take the time to check it out. The first class is free, and it's fantastic for homeschool families or Bible studies or independent study, whatever the case. And we do cover some of the issues that our culture is wrestling with in regards to homosexuality. Why is the Bible opposed to homosexuality? What's going on there? What about these gender issues? And what's wrong with a person deciding, hey, I want to identify as the opposite sex? Why should we make a big deal out of that? And so my guest today, Denise Shick, we're having this discussion. Her father was transgender and wanted to be a woman desperately. And so Denise, picking up where we left off, you said that he was sexually molested, and this was part of what precipitated this. So how does that work? Is this standard, or is this I know that sexual molestation plays a role in confusing people about gender and their sexuality. Can you explain that a little bit for our listeners? Why is that such a damaging thing?
Yeah. Well, I think, like, for instance, if we talk about a female to male transgender, why would a female struggle in this way or want to be a man?
Yeah.
Right? So often the female will struggle with her identity because she has either seen, witnessed, or been a part of abuse. And for instance, a situation where this, her mother and dad, would physically fight, and the father had knocked the wife down the stairs while this little girl was witnessing all this type of abuse. And for this girl, it was a personal vow. I don't want to be like mom because she's weak. So it's the way that the filtering system, the way that we filter, that we internally filter situations or circumstances. And so to become a man, she felt that she would have more power. She would have the power to hurt others and not allow herself to be hurt.
Yeah.
So we have to take a look at listen to the words, and the situations that these folks come from, because there's a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Rape. Another reason why females will tend to lean towards this way, be bent towards this way, is because, again, it's the power. They see man as the power role and women as a victim.
Have you worked with a lot of families through this? How long have you been working with families in this?
We've been doing this for 13 years.
Oh, wow. So you've seen tons of families come through this. So you're very familiar with the patterns that are happening. So you would say that this is happening because of the breakdown of the family to a large extent, that families are not living according to biblical principles, and so what's happening is it's creating these problems.
Yes, I would say that that's one component of it, yes. And how I don't think husbands and wives realize how they treat each other, or even the words that they speak, how that impacts their child, what a relationship as a man and a wife look like.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, just like the situation there with the girl with the parents, but for instance, when it comes to the words, if they're battering each other and putting each other down, then the child's trying to figure out what's the best role, as far as the gender goes, to look at it that way. And again, nobody wants to be a victim. If a young boy is in a situation where the parents are in a type of a troubled marriage like this, and he's got a sensitive nature, he's going to lean more towards mom, and he's going to look at dad as being the bear, and thinking, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah. So in the past, I mean, it's not as if abuse has just popped up in our generation here. In the past, when families would see this, my mom comes from a generation in the 1940s and so forth. This was not common at all. Did people just respond to these issues differently? And now that our culture is saying, hey, you need to be, quote, true to yourself. If you feel like you're a man, then go ahead, be transgender. Mm-hmm. Is it because our culture is dealing with this differently that people move towards that?
Yes. I believe that it is. Back when my dad had struggled with this, I remember when he was seen by a psychiatrist, and I also remember when he had stayed at a mental institution for a bit. And so all of that, it was like the person needs help. There was an understanding that the way that we mentally perceive ourselves, if it doesn't align with reality, then there's a problem there.
Yeah.
Today we're not at all standing by that message. I mean, biology doesn't even stand by reality in some of this.
Yeah.
And when you're
because they're changing biology, is that what you're saying?
Well, just the fact that biology, if my dad would have died and nobody had any idea or anything, and they did say blood work, DNA, they would have discovered that he was a man, no matter what he looked like on the outside. So we're encouraging as a culture to do cosmetic surgery, to change the outside of a person, when inside, you know what? They're still hurting.
Yeah.
They're still hurting.
So if somebody were to say, Denise, I think that them being allowed to do that is going to be more beneficial than you telling them, no, you're struggling mentally. There's mental problems here that need to be fixed. How would you respond to that? What would you say to somebody?
I would respond and ask them, why is there a 41% attempted suicide rate?
Whoa. Among transgenders?
Among people that have either transitioned or identify as being transgender, and 30% of these folks are successful in their attempt.
Whoa, that's
so
heavy.
It just shows that it does not fix anything. Even Dr. Paul McHugh from Johns Hopkins has said that we have wasted valuable time. This is not fixing people. They are coming back to me with a lot of depression and anxiety.
So why then is our culture, we see it in sports, especially what's happening in sports is a lot of these organizations that have power over what's happening in sports are saying, we're going to allow these transgenders to kind of do that. They're not. I mean, is this just not widely known that they attempted suicide rates and so forth, or are they just saying, "Hey, look, we don't want a lawsuit. Just
I think in some instances it is that they don't want a lawsuit, and I think it's just gotten carried away. Everybody's listened to the message that if somebody or a child transitions, everybody else will transition with them, and that's what we're seeing happen in our culture. There's actually also the message out there that for a child going through puberty, that it's being suggested to them that their body will betray them. Their body's betraying them to do what it was created to do.
Yeah. How can it betray them?
Yeah.
So when you're working with people, do you see healing come about? Is this difficult to get through, or is it, or do you see a lot of success in working through these issues?
I see a lot of success when folks, and I say, which the majority of them do when they cling and they hang on to God, they hang on to their faith to take them through this. And that means for the families or the individuals, it is a lot of work because you're talking about a lot of deep wounds. And it has taken more than likely years for this to manifest and become what it has. So it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be something where they're going to click their fingers and tomorrow they're going to wake up and be just fine for the most part.
Yeah.
It is dealing, just like for my father, it would have been dealing with the sexual abuse. It would have been dealing with an alcoholic mother. He actually was tied out on the clothesline with a bull for like a dog while his father went out to work. So there was a lot of mental.
He was tied out on the
clothesline, yes, like a dog
with a bull
collar, with a bowl for water.
Oh my gosh!
And left there, and as he started, obviously when he got past that age, and the fact that my grandfather went hunting, he was a sensitive natured man, and so my grandfather was a hunter, very aggressive and man.
Yeah.
So they didn't connect either. So all these different components.
Variables,
play a part of this. Yes. There are so many men that are older that struggle with this, and they're so hungry for their dad to give them a hug. for their father to give them a hug.
Well, that's important. When we come back, we're going to continue to talk about that. What is it, as a father, what do I need to do to make sure that my son or my daughter is growing up healthy? How do I best facilitate that? My guest is Denise Shick. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jason Hall, president of Team Home Loans, a branch of Synergy One Lending. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Kevin Conover for the profound impact he's had on mine and my wife's spiritual life, as well as being an incredible teacher while our kids were his students. His knowledge and passion have taught us all how important it is to be defenders of our faith. It's our honor and privilege to support Kevin and his show. It is our sincere hope and prayer that you will continue to learn to be defenders of your faith through Kevin's radio show and through his Educate for Life teachings. Thank you, Kevin, from the Hall family and Team Home Loans.
This is Throughout All Ages Ministry with Joe and Stacy. We would like to equip you to share the gospel with confidence in a biblical and effective way.
We would like to teach you through the proclamation of the gospel.
Whether you're the skeptic, God who created you said that he has made himself known to you so that you are without excuse.
One-on-one evangelism.
How do you think you can get to heaven? I've never really thought about it, but I've always just thought of, doing good.
For more information, go throughoutallages.com, like us on Facebook, or visit us at YouTube at Throughout All Ages.
When you need tires or service, count on Conover Tires, Wheels, and Service in Oceanside for a full range of affordable options and all the brands you trust. See their great customer reviews and special offers online. Hours Tuesday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30, and Saturdays, 7:30 to 5. Call Dan and his team at 760-439-1631. Conover Tires, Wheels, and Service, 2405 Oceanside Boulevard in Oceanside, 760-439-1631.
Do you have one-button espresso machines in your home or business? They make delicious coffee drinks, but they're not maintenance-free. Express Fix Coffee is San Diego's source for coffee and espresso machine repair, sales, and service. Call Dave Martin at Express Fix Coffee for new and used espresso machines, repairs, parts, and accessories. They'll save you time and money. Call Express Fix Coffee at 619-867-3853. Learn more at expressfixcoffee.com.
There's got to be more than going.
Welcome to Educate for Life. I'm your host, Kevin Conover. If you're enjoying this interview and you just tuning in and you didn't get the whole thing and you want to listen to the rest of it, it is on YouTube and it will be podcast on iTunes as well. Love to have you check out our videos. Please like the channel. It's Educate for Life Video. And like our videos, comment on them. That gets the information out there. And really, this is not a message that is widespread. The media does not want to hear this. This is something that is being suppressed in our culture, but this is typical. It's not just a physical thing. It's spiritual. It's emotional. It's psychological. And the spiritual world is real, and there's a spiritual war. And so what we want to do is give people truth. Christ said, when you know the truth, right? He said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. But he said, when you know the truth will set you free. And that's what we're all about here. So my guest today is Denise Shick. Her website is helpforfamilies.com. And Denise, are people able to get help from your ministry even though they may not be in the same town as your ministry and what you're doing? Or how does that work?
Yes, they are. We have different support groups, support group leaders, but also because 13 years ago, this wasn't really heard of a whole lot. So we had to learn to be very creative and meeting the needs of individuals. And so in between conference calls, Skype, pastoral counseling, really just coming alongside of the individual and just like a human service, agency. It's you look at what are their needs. We have a prayer card ministry. There's so many different ways that we try to be creative to come alongside of somebody and know that we understand what they're going through and that we're here.
What about support? Do you have a nonprofit?
Yes.
Can people donate to support what you're doing?
Yes, it is a nonprofit.
Okay, that's great. So if you have the resources, please support this ministry. This is needed more than ever in our culture, probably historically more than ever that we've experienced. So we were talking when we left off last, you were talking about how important it is for fathers to connect with their children and what they need to do in order to make sure that child is growing up healthy. Can you expand a little bit on that? What you were talking about there? Sure.
When we think about attachment and attunement, for instance, something when our children are young, to be able to look into the eyes of our child, when we're telling a storybook, or a conversation, to realize that eye contact is so important, that the child feels attuned to what is happening.
What does that mean, attuned?
Well, it would be almost like how as Americans, we've gotten used to TV, television. We're zoomed in on the television, on the events, and we're listening, and we're right there playing this. And so as a dad or a mom even, to be that in tune to your child, to recognize when there's maybe some needs or some struggles going on, to keep open communications, especially with our teenagers today. Let them know that they have a safe place to come and talk about gender, talk about the issues that is surrounding and really drowning our kids today.
That they're struggling with.
Yes. But as parents, we've got to take time. We've got to be relational with our children, no matter what age they are.
Yeah.
Kevin.
And it's so easy to just get on your phone or come home and just go about your business. And it's almost like the kids are living separate lives in so many cases. And it's fascinating to me, the incredible impact that what you're saying, to be present with your children has such an incredible emotional impact on them.
Yes.
And so you were also talking about how, that has to happen in the family, that we have to be present with the kids. And that's going to instill in them what? What is going to be instilled in them as they grow up?
That's going to instill in them some value, that they're important to you, that they're valuable to the parents. And the relationship itself, what you're able to teach or mentor your child through those years, even if it is your values.
Yeah. And how does that affect their sexual identity? What's going on there?
Well, if you have a healthy, father, mother, the same sex parent, and that relationship is healthy, that is going to give them more confidence as well in themselves. And they're going to view, if they have a healthy father and see that he's safe, that men are safe. So it affects so many different angles of how the child feels about themselves. If there is a lack because these things are missing, sometimes it can create the environment where they're seeking that attention. They're seeking the attributes that the same-sex parent or that the same-sex peers possesses.
So I want to talk also about the role of the church in these issues and what that means. But also, how do you recommend people respond to these issues? We had the big Target blow up with transgender men being able to use women's bathrooms and these sorts of things. What I'm sure this comes up in your ministry and the discussions that take place. How do we respond to this culturally? What's the Christian admonition here? What are we supposed to do?
Well, I think first of all, to do sometimes the most difficult thing, and that is to love others that we don't understand, or others that are really uncomfortable to be around because you don't, again, understand what they're going through, or they're so different. So to show that can be hard. We can say, I love my neighbor, but are we really acting that out?
Yeah.
That is so challenging. But to understand the depth of pain that many of the folks that identify as being transgender, and if somebody has come to you and said, this is what I struggle with, to realize the amount of courage that took for them to come forward, because that is not easy for them. So often shame will keep them back in the closet from going forward, and to allow others to come alongside of them. For men, if there is somebody that they know that is a man that struggles in this way, the best medicine for that man is to have good, godly, healthy men to come alongside of him, and not only hold him accountable, but to really be a friend and show him what that healthy relationship is, and how healthy it is to accept your masculinity and who God had created you to be. That doesn't mean he has to be a football player.
Yeah.
He might be sensitive or, whatever nature or what he likes, but that's not the masculinity part. So the same thing for girls. To look at that and not want to run from their femininity, but to learn to embrace that through the healthy relationships that can be brought to them.
Now, do a lot of churches, as you're traveling and speaking and doing interviews and these sorts of things, are you seeing a lot of churches pick up, the mantle here, pick up the baton, and deal with these issues, or what do you see in the churches?
Well, I see, first of all, churches that are nervous because of the culture that we live in, and I do understand that. There is more of a pickup in the last couple of years. Sadly, many times it's the pastor calling and saying, I never thought I'd have to call your type of ministry. And so they're looking for tools in their toolbox of how to handle whatever situation is that they're looking at and to understand.
That's great. Well, we have one more segment left. We're coming up here on a break. My guest is Denise Shick, and her website is helpforfamilies.com if you haven't been listening. And Denise, do you mind if I give out the phone number on the air also? Is that okay?
No, that's fine.
Okay. The number is 814-598-4952. 814-598-4952. And, if somebody's out there right now and you have family members that are struggling with these issues, or you yourself are struggling with these issues, the best thing they can do is reach out to somebody, not keep this hidden. Would you say?
Yes, it is. Because when we keep things hidden, we're not moving forward. And it's really the enemy. When we look at this spiritually, it's the enemy that's stopping us from moving forward in our own healing.
Yeah. And so I do want to touch on, too, when we come back, what was the turning point in your life where you began to really move towards healing and then decided, hey, you know what? This is what God is calling me to reach out and help people with this. We'll be right back. My guest is Denise Shick.
Did you know that Denver Broncos quarterback Tim Tebow was homeschooled, along with all 4 of his siblings, by his mom, Pam Tebow? You're invited to hear Pam share how to successfully educate your children with a biblical worldview at San Diego County's only homeschool conference. Hear local experts as they give you the tools you'll need to help you teach your children. Don't miss the Educate for Life Homeschool Conference, Friday and Saturday, June 8th and 9th, presented by the Creation and Earth History Museum in Santee, featuring worship with Michael Sanchez of The Voice, well-known local Bible teacher and radio host Tom Cantor, Pat Roy, creator of the Jonathan Park Creation Adventure audio drama series, and Educate for Life's Kevin Conover. Learn more, become an exhibitor, or register online now at registereducateforlife.com. That's registereducateforlife.com.
For 36 years, Fastlane Kayaking has helped people like you experience everything that's great about San Diego. Fastlane makes fishing and water sports fun and easy. Hobie Cat kayaks feature a popular pedal system, not paddles, keeping your hands free as you fish. You no longer need to tow and gas up a boat to experience great San Diego fishing. Call or come in for your no-charge demo ride. 619-222-0766. FastlaneSailing.com. At Dana Landing Marina across from SeaWorld. 619-222-0766.
Hi, this is Jason Hall, president of Team Home Loans, a branch of Synergy One Lending. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Kevin Conover for the profound impact he's had on mine and my wife's spiritual life, as well as being an incredible teacher while our kids were his students. His knowledge and passion have taught us all how important it is to be defenders of our faith. It's our honor and privilege to support Kevin and his show. It is our sincere hope and prayer that you will continue to learn to be defenders of your faith through Kevin's radio show and through his Educate for Life teachings. Thank you, Kevin, from the Hall family and Team Home Loans.
Hi, I'm Kevin Conover, and I would love to help you buy or sell your home. I've worked as a realtor for more than 13 years, and as a San Diego native, my passion and experience will help make your move as peaceful as can be. Call me at 619-251-1577. That's 619-251-1577, or visit conoverhomes.com.
I will cast my cares on you.
Welcome to Educate for Life. I'm your host, Kevin Conover. My website's educateforlife.org. Or if you want to sign up for my online curriculum, it's join.educateforlife.org. Love to have you check that out. We're also having a debate coming up September 26th. There's going to be a debate at San Diego State University. It's between Dan Barker. He's the president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and also a man who is a Christian and a scientist, not a Christian scientist, but a man who is a Christian and a scientist, Dr. Andy McIntosh. He's from England, and he is an expert in thermodynamics. So it should be a very interesting debate. I hope you can make it out. Love to have you come and listen. You can ask questions. It's going to be really good. My guest today is Denise Shick, and her ministry is Help for Families, helpforfamilies.com. And her father wanted to become a woman. He was a man who wanted to become a woman. Denise, did he ever draw the conclusion that he was going in the wrong direction before he passed away?
Yes.
What happened there towards the end of his life?
Towards the end, it was 13 years where he had been gone, away from our family, and my mother had let me know at that time that he was dying of cancer. And it was through that time where I had to learn a whole new lesson on what forgiveness, genuine forgiveness, was really about, because the Lord started to knock on my heart and say, you need to face him and you need to forgive him now. And of course, I'm thinking I had done that, through my walk of being a Christian where, I forgive him, Lord, and thinking that I did. But the minute Dad did something to hurt our family again, I felt like it was a power.
Yeah.
It was something that I had power over him. And so this is where it was just listening to the Lord for 2 weeks. And it was finally like, okay, I'll go see Dad. Now, 13 years is a long time to be away from somebody that's transitioning. And so at that time, my husband was working away from home and my brother went with me. And we walked up to the door and I knocked on the door the first time and he didn't answer. And I looked at my brother and I said, well, he's not home, thinking I was going to get off the handle here. But that didn't happen. My brother looked at me and he said, knock one more time, Denise. And of course, you knock one more time. And I seen my father coming towards the door. And now I say I see my father, but because of looking at the outside, I kept telling myself even then, look at his eyes. Don't allow everything else, because I knew it would just break me apart. And so as he opened up the door, and after talking with him for about 10 minutes, I realized he didn't know who I was.
Whoa.
And I said to him, you don't know who we are, do you? And he said, well, you're from hospice. I said, no, this is your son, and I'm Denise, your daughter. And the tears for the first time in this cold-hearted man's heart. It was the first time I've ever seen my dad that tender. And he got up and stood up off the couch and come over to hug my brother and I. And I'm just being honest with you. He hugged us, but we were not ready to hug him back. I was not in a place. We were not in a place to do that. But it was big for us to allow him.
Oh, sure.
Especially myself, because there was some inappropriate touching between him and I as a young girl as well.
Sure.
So it was walking through this process, and I got in my brother's car afterwards, and I'm like, okay, God, did what you said. I'm done. I'll never tell God you're done.
That's right.
And, what I discovered is that God had moved my heart, and it was I wanted to understand my dad now as an adult, not that 9-year-old girl. And I wanted him to know the love of God. And so this desire grew and grew. And so when I got home, it was about a 4-hour trip. And before I knew it, I was calling my dad every day and making trips to Pittsburgh to see how he was. To spend that time with him, it was so important, especially when he was in the hospital and knowing he wouldn't come out. And that was through some more difficult challenges that I had personally faced with him. And nothing can prepare a family member that walks into the hospital room, for my mom who was with us to see her husband in pink fuzzy slippers and a women's nightgown and, his LGBT church inside. And so, hearing them call my dad Becky and her, and I would say, you mean him, my dad, Harold. And it wasn't done in a way to create a hateful environment, Kevin. To be honest, I felt in my heart I was the only one speaking the truth. I was speaking clarity and trying to remind him of who he really was, because he was so deceived in this identity.
Yeah. So is that a lot of what you have to work through as far as really coming to a person and saying, hey, you really need to identify who you are? Is that when you work through these issues?
It is first working through the wounds of the heart and the soul that they have.
Okay.
And working, like if they've been sexually molested or if they felt rejected with their dad, to work on those relationships, because you know what? God, the Holy Spirit, will do the rest.
Yeah, okay.
We'll bring that about in the conversations when that person, is ready. But for myself, it was really learning the true meaning of forgiveness. And I didn't realize what God had been doing in those 6 months in that hospital room. And the last day my husband and I went to go see him, he was in a coma. And I'm like, Lord, I've been looking for these scriptures and now I have them and now he's in a coma. Feeling like that chance was lost. But I took up the chance that he might be able to hear me. And I slid up a chair, and this is the most amazing. This is the gold out of this journey. Was when I went to tell my dad goodbye that day, once my siblings had arrived, because we still had 4 young children at home and needed to get back. I didn't feel safe leaving him there without them. I was finding that there I am warming up my dad's hand. You see, I'm noticing his body's growing cold. And having tears in my eyes, and as I went to say goodbye to him, just him and I in that room. And I bent over to kiss him on the forehead, Kevin. That's what I realized what God's amazing grace was all about. There is no way in heaven you would have seen me do that 30 years before that. I was not in a place, and I didn't really offer genuine forgiveness. So for myself, this is a lesson of forgiveness that the Lord has taken me through.
And that's one of the most amazing things to me is about Christ, is that so many situations in life we can become incredibly bitter and hold grudges for most of our life because of what people have done to us or how they've hurt us, or we can be experiencing that because of the mistakes we've made and the sins we've committed. And yet Christ is the ultimate redeemer of hurt and broken relationships and what he does. And that's integral to your ministry, because without that, you can't do this.
No, we have to look at our own heart and examine ourselves. With family members, it's really getting to a point where I can say to them, this journey isn't just about your loved one. This is about what does God want to do with you and in your own heart. And sometimes that's us facing our own monsters.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Denise Shick is my guest, and please visit her website, helpforfamilies.com. They're also, you can donate to their ministry and what they're doing. The phone number is 814-598-4952. Please reach out and just take the opportunity to get help and get healing and learn from somebody who's traveled a path that maybe you're on or a family member's on. And don't give up on people, because God doesn't give up on us. And we want to continue to pray and reach out to those around us who needs God's love. And so, Denise, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Huge blessing. Again, if you want to visit my website, you can check out a YouTube video of this show. You can also podcast it. And again, our debate is coming up on September 26th. Please come out to San Diego State University if you're local here in San Diego. And that'll be between Dan Barker and Andy McIntosh. I have the honor and privilege of being a moderator there. It's being put on by Apna Hope and my ministry, Educate for Life. So God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday, and look forward to being with you again next week. We're going to be having Mike Conroy, Director of Teen Challenge here in San Diego, California, along with some other people who have been recovered from addictions to drugs. Teen Challenge is one of the largest drug addiction recovery ministries in the world, and they're incredibly successful because of Christ. And so God bless you. Have a fantastic Saturday.
Did you miss part of today's program? Don't worry, we're committed to helping you get the info you need. Okay, that was dumb. But for real, visit educateforlife.com for podcast and video recordings of the show and to sign up for the School of Unshakable Faith. Leave us your comments, compliments, questions, or concerns at 800-243-97.